All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna,
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna,
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna,
Gaur Premanande.
Hare Hare Bo.
Oh, I thank you all very much for coming. Obeisances to Purushartha Prabhu. So grateful that you're with us. And my respects and welcome to everyone else. We're at Srimad Bhagavatam 119.4. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The king has been uh, repenting his offense at the feet of the Brahmin. He was, as a devotee, he was naturally doubtful about having acted in an untoward fashion toward the Brahmin. And as Prabhupada comments, that kind of uh, mm, sincere repentance uh, purifies the heart. All offenses are burned up in the fire of repentance. Sachintayan ittam atashranodyata mune sutoko takshakakya sasaru menena chirena takshaka nalam prasaktasya virakti karanam. So while the king was repenting, he received news of his imminent death, which would be due to the bite of a snake bird occasioned by the curse spoken by the sage's son. The king accepted this as good news, for it would be the cause of his indifference toward worldly things. The Prabhupada comments, real happiness is achieved by spiritual existence or cessation of the repetition of birth and death, and that one can do only by going back to Godhead. So uh, but we don't accept the path of attaining perfection, which frees one from all attachments and enables one to enter the spiritual kingdom. Therefore, those who are poverty stricken are better off. Even though he was, Parikshit Maharaj, a bona fide candidate and a great devotee, the Lord, a great bona fide candidate for entering into the kingdom of God, his material assets as the emperor of the world were setbacks to perfect attainment of his rightful status of one of the associates of the Lord in the spiritual world, in the spiritual sky. So the king took it as a blessing that uh, the that he'd been cursed. Sadhu Very good. Sadhu mene, he thought this is okay. Nachirena takshakananam, that's very soon this fire of the snake bird will consume me. Uh, and that way, I won't be consumed by the fire of material existence. Sasadu me ne nachirena takshaka nalam prasakta asya virakti karanam. Prasaktasya, prasakta means uh, intense attachment or excessive attachment. And virakti means viraga, detachment. So the king thought that he was he was excessively attached. Uh, this, of course, he's a pure devotee. He has no material attachments, but still, he's thinking, I'm the king. I have my family. I have my kingdom. I have my position. Everybody looks up to me. Everyone's depending on me. Uh, so there's that attachment. Even if we think he wasn't attached to sense gratification, there's this attachment of feeling that uh, I'm responsible, people depend on me, uh, my family depends on me, my business depends on me, my kingdom depends on me. I can't just leave. That's just another kind of attachment. That's another kind of attachment. So the king thought uh, that he was too attached. And he got news that the boy had cursed him. The Shamak Rishi sent the news through a disciple uh, so that to enable the king, uh, since there was no way to retract the curse, the king was informed to prepare for death within a week. And the Parikshit Maharaj could have gone to the king to beg his pardon, but the message was conveyed with such regret that the king didn't want to further shame the sage. So he just accepted the curse. The life of a human being is a chance to prepare oneself to go back to Godhead or get rid of material existence, the repetition of birth and death. Thus, in the system of Varnashram Dharma, every man and woman is trained for this purpose. In other words, the system of Varnashram Dharma is known also as Sanatan Dharma, or the eternal occupation, and it prepares a man for going back to Godhead. Thus, a householder is ordered to go to the forest as vanaprastha to acquire complete knowledge and then to take sannyas prior to his inevitable death. Parikshit Maharaj was fortunate to get a 7-day notice to meet his inevitable death, but for the common man, there's no definite notice, although death is inevitable for all. So here again, uh, sometimes I think that Krishna sends me all the Vanaprastha verses, but the deck is stacked, you know. The Bhagavatam is full of such references to the need to accept Varnashram Dharma, first of all, and uh, retired and renounced life, Vanaprastham Sannyas. Why? Because the mission of human life is to go back to Godhead. And an obstacle, a principal obstacle, is attachment. And that attachment takes the form of family life and attachment to so many other things. So before death, the Varnashram system arranges things in such a way that we should release ourselves from these attachments and direct ourselves toward going back to Godhead. So the king, in the normal course of affairs, he was still a young man, he would have gone on ruling, but he got the word that now you have 7 days, and he knew what to do. He knew what to do. He didn't try to pack in more sense gratification. He thought, in fact, good, yes, at 9 o'clock. He thought, this is good. Why? Virakta karanam. This will force me to be detached. It will force me to be detached. Materialist somehow or other thinks, let me hold on for dear life. Prabhupada told of the person he knew who was asking the doctor, couldn't you please just give me 4 years more? I still have some uncompleted work. The materialist is like that. He doesn't want to go. But the king accepted it in a positive mood, that good detachment. In a parallel incident, we find that when Vidura was insulted by Duryodhana, very severely, Duryodhana, who asked him to come here, this son of a dasi, he's always plotting against us, he should be beaten and thrown out. With such harsh words, Vidura, rather than looking to pratikurvanti, how to retaliate or maneuver, they just took it, good, here's my excuse to get out of this place, this palace full of politics and intrigue. And he went out on pilgrimage, and that's how he met the Uddhava and then Maitreya, and became highly elevated. He was already highly elevated, but detached from all worldly affairs and took up the position of a saintly person. So here also, the king takes this as the ultimate goal of life and an opportunity to reach that. Again, Prabhupada emphasizes the importance of cow protection, God consciousness, and Brahminical culture, and calls upbraids really the state of India for not advancing these, the God consciousness, cow protection, and Brahminical culture. So I'll stop here, see if there's some questions so far. Okay. Good.
Sure, I think Ekendra has one. Go ahead, Ekendra, or is that Tulsi? There you go.
Who is that?
Can you hear me, Maharaj?
Who are you then? Kendra, yes.
Hare Krishna. I'm not, I just want to make sure my microphone is working properly.
Your microphone's working properly. Your video is showing us quite the creepy scene.
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
I was thinking, Maharaj, about this. You've mentioned this story that Prabhupada tells of a friend who wanted 4 more years from his physician. And I was contrasting that with how Prabhupada himself, at various times, he would go through various health crises. And he instructed his disciples to pray to Krishna for him that my master has not finished his work. And so I was thinking in my mind, contrasting the mentality of a pure devotee like Prabhupada, whose mission was very clear, and a materialist who's just hanging on out of material attachment. And I'm thinking in times of crisis, devotees may also think that I have not finished my work. I haven't gotten it together yet to be of use to the Sankirtan movement or whatever they may pray. And I was wondering if you might want to address that idea.
No, I got a freeze here. Was that a universal freeze or was that just on my laptop? I missed part of what you were saying.
Okay, I'll try to make it quick. Contrasting the idea of Prabhupada asking his disciples to pray that my master has not finished his work with the materialist being hanging on. And maybe devotees in general may have a sense at times of crisis like these that I have not finished my work, or perhaps I haven't even begun my work. I haven't gotten it together yet to be of service to the Sankirtan movement. I'm just wondering if you might want to address that mentality. Is that?
Well, certainly Prabhupada, when he was thinking to stay, was only thinking to stay for service, not because he wanted to enjoy some position in this material world. So that's the first thing. And second, Prabhupada was also philosophical, that if Krishna wants me to leave, I'll leave. He wasn't under any illusions that he'd stay no matter what. And especially, don't bring me to a hospital in his last days, again and again, don't bring me to a hospital. He wasn't willing to hang on at all costs. Try A, try B, try C, somehow or other survive. If Krishna desires, we go. If Krishna desires, we stay. And even it seemed that he was more on the side of leaving, more on the side of desiring to leave in those last days. Now, then it comes to our case. We also have, all of us, unfinished work. Sometimes it's family affairs, sometimes it's preaching, sometimes it's bhajan, thinking that I have to make more spiritual advancement. Don't take me yet until when my consciousness is like this. Let it be a little more purified, please. I have unfinished business. So, and naturally, we call out to Krishna. I was hearing today, Prabhupada was talking about that in relation, I think, to the killing of Putana Rakshasi, that when a devotee is in difficulty, he just naturally calls out to Krishna. It's not just a, what would you say, in the mood of approaching an order supplier. But just as a child cries out for the mother, the devotee naturally calls out to Krishna. So we take that approach, that we call out to Krishna when we're in difficulty or when death is near. But two things. One is that under the cover of staying for devotional service, we shouldn't be thinking, let me stay for my material objectives. The other is that we should get on with it. I don't want to be like 93 and still praying to Krishna. I haven't really done any serious bhajan. I'm still so attached to my family. I'm still, I still have work to do for the BBT, or I still have work to do for, this ISKCON project or that ISKCON project. We should be ready to go. So that means we should have done the needful. We should have gotten serious about our bhajan. We should have taken steps for detachment from family life and even from responsibilities that we ought to have handed down to the next generation, so that we can be free for focusing our minds purely on Krishna. So there's both sides to that. Is that all right?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, Maharaj, I also had a related comment. The famous prayer, Srila Prabhupada used to sing it also by Kulashekar, King Kulu, Krishna Tvadiya Padapankaja Panjarantam, Adhyaiva me Vishatamanasu, Pranahansa, Rajahansa, Prana Pranaya Samaye Kapha Vatapit. So, and the point is that my Lord, at the time of old age, if I die when I'm an old man, my throat will be choked up with Kapha Vatapit, mucus, bile, and air, and there'll be a rattling sound. And Prabhupada in his lecture, he would even imitate the rattling sound. He'd say it'll be sound like a rattle, and he would make a sound. And what's the point? Why extend your life where the death process will be that much more difficult? It's not really that difficult to just accept Krishna as the Lord, and then be ready to face the transition. And better when you're younger, when you have clarity of senses and throat and whatnot, you can cry out to the Lord. So, I mean, that shows the intensity or the importance of focus at the time of death, and also the detachment. The detachment should be a constant at any stage in life.
Therefore, the brahmachari training was there.
Right.
So that from the beginning of life, one absorbs the mood of detachment. And then if one enters family life, he'll still be a detached householder, and then can progress to the next stage, vanaprastha, and onto sannyas. That brahmachari training is so important. There's a sort of a window there between family life and death, where one has the opportunity to detach oneself. And if one takes the opportunity, then so much opportunity opens up to him for spiritual progress and for contributing to the preaching effort unhindered. And if one misses that opportunity, then it becomes difficult, because old age sets in, and I need somebody to feed me my applesauce, and I really can't become dependent, and I'm just too old. So Prabhupada said, while we still have our vitality, I can still push on for another 10 years, another 20 years, and putting things off. We should, Parikshit Maharaj basically saw that here's the gift. This is the opportunity. Just like we hear, Yadrichtaya Chopapannam Swargadwaram Apavritam. Happy are the Kshatriyas to whom these opportunities for fighting come of their own accord. So Krishna may send opportunities of his own accord to enable us to become detached, to enable us to move forward. And when that kind of gift comes, then we should grab it.
Yes, online questions, Maharaj.
A couple of questions here. How do we gradually develop the detachment so as to detach after 50 years, as detachment after 50 years all of a sudden will be hard? Yeah, therefore it's a lifetime project. It starts with brahmachari training, which is important for the cultural life of a person meant for spiritual progress. Then it continues by having a spirit of service and detachment in family life. Family life is not supposed to be, okay, whole hog, let's just get into enjoying. But it's really meant to be a kind of responsible and restrained enterprise for spiritual progress. So those who seriously cultivate devotional service in family life, hearing, chanting, serving, living a regulated life, are doing the right thing for making progress. Then in the mature stage, they can detach themselves. Then they may even look forward to vanaprastha life, be done with this family business and move forward. So it's a matter of cultivation throughout life. Otherwise, as you say, it's not like all of a sudden at 50 we say, okay, ready to go. That book has the title A Lifetime in Preparation. Srila Prabhupada himself prepared himself for going to the West, for spreading his mission. So preparation, the practice and making good choices. We know some friends in family life who've told us they could have made more money, by making different choices, but they deliberately chose to make less money, but to live in such a way that they'd be able to do more for Krishna consciousness, for their own and for others. It's not always a choice. Sometimes you can do both. But one or two devotees, more than one, I think, have told me this, that they made choices in such a way that they would be able to, as to favor their Krishna consciousness above their career, because they would still have enough and it wouldn't be required. So cultivation. Anukul yasya sankalpa pratikul yasya varna. In this day and age, with the cost of living, if someone takes to a vanaprastha life of renunciation, you could end up homeless on the streets in advanced age. There's not the culture of maintaining those in retired life. Even in ISKCON, there's little support for programs aimed toward maintaining aging devotees in declining health. Yes, I have no idea what the cost of living is. I have no idea. For the person who's in retired life or renounced life, vanaprastha life means becoming increasingly convinced. Rakshasyatiti vishvasho, bhopritve varanam tata. Krishna will protect me and Krishna will maintain me. Krishna never says in Bhagavad Gita, don't worry, ISKCON will maintain you. No such promise. Wouldn't be a wise promise to make. But Krishna says, I'll maintain you. And a devotee develops that confidence. Yes, Krishna will maintain me. That's why in the Vanaprastha ashram, there are 4 stages, Kuti Chak, Bahudak, like that. First, the Vanaprastha lives like right on the edge of the village, and the village people bring him his food, and he's still connected. Then a little further out, then realizes, well, I can go anywhere. I don't need this village. Krishna is sending me the food. Krishna is maintaining me. And if he doesn't maintain me, I'll die. So he develops that kind of like when you ride the bicycle example again, you learn to ride a bicycle, and first there's training wheels, and then and your father's holding on to the handlebars or the seat for you. But then gradually you give up the training wheels, and you give up the helping hand, and because you realize that, okay, now I see I can just pedal and go. But he starts off with the training wheels. So the real fact is that Krishna is maintaining all living entities. The ant is getting its grain of sugar, the elephant is getting its mountain of sugar. And Krishna is supplying. Prabhupada said before the child is born, there's no milk in the breast. And after the child is born, the milk is there in the mother's breast by nature's arrangement. So by nature's arrangement, there's something to maintain everyone. And the Vanaprastha becomes increasingly convinced that Krishna will maintain me. It's not that because I've got this much stashed away here and that much stashed away there, and I've got this insurance policy, that insurance policy. Even Raghunath Das Goswami, his father and uncle, were concerned, how is he going to live there in Puri? They were sending money. So Raghunath was just using it for feasts for Lord Chaitanya. And then he wasn't even, he just sent them back. Don't give me money anymore. He became, of course, he was detached from the beginning. But that's the idea of Vanaprastha and sannyas, to become convinced that no, it's not that my government is maintaining me, my family members are maintaining me, I need this, I need that. Krishna is maintaining me. So he takes up the increasing detachment in that spirit, and Krishna increasingly reciprocates, especially when one is a preacher. Krishna, Prabhupada said, even an ordinary man pays to have himself glorified. If you have you're a politician or an author or a singer or something, you hire an publicity company to get the word out about you, and you pay them good money. So if the same mentality is there in Krishna. When the devotees are glorifying him, then Prabhupada said Krishna becomes the financier. So Krishna maintains and supports his devotees. And these are items of Sharanagati. Sharanagati we translate as surrender, but it means going to Krishna for shelter. Sharanagati, the place where I go, the destination where I go for shelter, is not my government, my insurance company, my this plan, that plan. Finally, Krishna, I'm yours. If you want to maintain me, I'll be maintained. If you want me to die, I'll die. Krishna will maintain me. Krishna will protect me. That mentality. Not that, yes. Now, it's also true that the society should be arranged in such a way that it supports the vanaprasthas, it supports the sannyasis, supports the brahmacharis. Actually, the grahastas are supposed to support all these four sections and not only themselves. But the devotee becomes increasingly convinced that it may be, just like Prabhupada, there was no varnashram society in America, there was no fund set up for him, there was nothing, but let me depend on Krishna. That conviction we have to cultivate, that finally it's Krishna. Otherwise, even with all my money, with all my protective arrangements, I could die at any moment, or I could be on the street. We're what's the word? We're topsy-turvied a little bit by this coronavirus. We have a little bit of the experience of what it's like to be in a country that's has war on its own territory. Not really. This is sort of the light version. But there have been countries where, in a similar way, everything was secure, everything's going on, and then everything gets topsy-turvied. Some foreign power invades or what have you, and your security disappears just like that. And sometimes due to excessive attachment, one wants to stay in that country, even though by analysis, it's getting worse, it's getting worse, it's getting worse. I should get out, I should get out, I should get out. But my business is here, my family is here, my this is there, my that is here, my money is here. And then they stay and die. Whereas a person who could pick up the clue would say, okay, leave it all, let's get out of here. Not that, no, we don't know anyone, we don't have any arrangements, let's just get out. So the Krishna conscious person who's trained in spiritual culture has to pick up this spirit that let me depend on Krishna. If Krishna wants to protect me, I'll be protected. And if Krishna wants me to die, I'll die. Is that all right, Sankarshan? This is more a problem for those who have to do the maintaining.
Yeah, sorry for the delay. Yes, thank you, Maharaj. Yeah, let me find the mute button.
For those of us who are responsible for maintaining others, this we have to wake up to. Those who are supposed to be detached need to wake up to this spirit that I have to accept whatever Krishna arranges for me. But those who are, especially in the Grihastha community, or those who are the managers and leaders, they have to think about how to see to the welfare of all the members who are dependent on them.
We have a question from Santosh Chaitanya. Go ahead, Santosh.
Santosh.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Few years back, or I would say a couple of 100 years back, the system was that when we marry, it's we still had so many years to practice Vanaprastha. So a person would marry in 20s and 25, and then by 50, he's ready to go to Vanaprastha, and there was a good time to practice detachment from the family. Once nowadays, people gets married late in 30s or sometimes 40s. So my question is, when should we practice this detachment? Sometimes it seems that
Before you're 40 and thinking of getting married. Go ahead.
So when is the right time to develop that detachment, considering that we may not have that much of time?
From 5 years old. Komara Atred Pragya Dharman Bhagavataniha. Durlabha Manava Janma Tadapi Andruvam Artadam. Prahlad Maharaj says one should begin this practice from the age of 5 because this human life is so valuable. It can give the greatest benefit, but it's also short, temporary. So we should not wait in cultivating detachment. I should also say that we don't need to fall into line with a social system which is biologically out of step. Society's gone weird. Just biologically speaking, it makes sense for a girl to be married 16, 18, for a boy 25. Just that's what biology is telling you at that age, to have sex. Nobody's going to deny that. The sex impulse becomes strong. So biology is telling us, mate. Double up, find yourself a partner, and this is the time for it. So, but no, we put education ahead of that. We put career ahead of that. We put everything else ahead of that. And then, when we're 35, when a girl is like 28, the guy's like 35, then we think about getting married. And so that by the time your children by the time you should be going to the forest, your children are, 10, 12. So it's just a poorly conceived way of life that's developed, or, just, what would you say, an irresponsible or thoughtless. What are they thinking? They're thinking only in terms of this one life. They're not thinking in terms of detachment at all. It's just sense gratification. And they put things off for a picture of a happy life. Or put things off? They don't put sex off, they put marriage off. So sex remains at the top of the priority list. but we want to have, they want detachment in sex. They will have sex, but we won't get too attached, because if we get too attached and get married, that'll get in the way of our education, our career. So sex, but without attachment. So this is cat and dog life. So better to follow the follow biology and the Vedic system for accommodating biology. Get married earlier and get the business over with so that you can get out while the getting's good, as they say, while we still can. For those who have married later, still, it doesn't mean that because I've married later, I'll die later. It's not that my time will be extended, that, well, yes, you had your education, you had your career, and then you had your marriage, and now your children are still young, so we'll give you another 15, 20 years here. No. So even still, we should be keeping and taking into account where we're going, where we want to go, what our life is for. I'm 40, I'm getting married. What am I thinking? What am I thinking? If that's what someone has done, all right, 40, 50, 60, getting married, all right, chant Hare Krishna and make spiritual progress. But this is not the recommended path. It doesn't make anything easier for ourselves. Is that okay, Santosh?
Thank you. That was very nice.
Okay, let's see. Is there anything wrong with working to be materially successful for Krishna? It seems that everything is money-centered, and many things, like a devotee retirement center mentioned above, could be created with monetary funds. What are the pitfalls of this? It seems like it would be a slippery slope. Yes, you've identified the problem. It's a slippery slope. There's nothing wrong. Let me get money for Krishna. And some people have, in fact, done that and used money well for Krishna's service. Prabhupada tells us that he thought of doing that, but that Krishna intervened and instead took all his money away. He said, according to his astrological chart, he should have been very wealthy, but Krishna had a different plan. So if we make money for Krishna, that's nice. But the other side of it also is that it becomes kind of like a slogan that, why am I working? Well, to make money for Krishna, because the movement needs money. Da, 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 da. How much money am I making? Hardly any. Why? Well, because we need a house and we need a car and we need a VCR and we needed this and we needed that. And even, forget anything opulent or anything luxurious. Babies cost money, clothes for the shoes, they're always outgrowing their shoes. There's doctor bills, there's insurance, there's this, there's that. And we get all involved in thinking that this is my service to make money for Krishna. And the money sort of doesn't materialize. So that may happen. So what is that? Yadvich chalaba santushto. One should be satisfied with gain that comes of its own accord. Or Prabhupada says that a householder should devise a simple means of earning his livelihood. If it's your destiny to make a lot of money, you will, and use that for Krishna. But if it's not your destiny, the money's not going to come. So be happy with that. Maybe even count yourself lucky and develop your spiritual wealth, which is the permanent wealth. Is that okay? Okay. I'm not hearing a no, at least. All right. Shall we move forward?
Yes, Maharaj, we still have some time to keep
We
going.
have some time.
And Shara says, yes, thank you.
Shara says yes. Okay. Ato vihayemam amum chalokam vimarshito heyatalaya purastat krishnangri sevam abhimanyamana upavishat prayam amarchanadyam. Maharaj Parikshit sat down firmly on the banks of the Ganges to concentrate his mind in Krishna consciousness, rejecting all other practices of self-realization, because transcendental loving service to Krishna is the greatest achievement, superseding all other methods. The Atal Vihaya Imam Amum Chalokam, more closely, giving up any planet in this life or the next. So Prabhupada summarizes all other practices of self-realization. Vimarshito heya taya purastat, because they're inferior. They're inferior. Why are they inferior? Krishnangri sevam abhimanyamana. Because the greatest thing is service to the lotus feet of Krishna. Krishnangri seva. That's the greatest thing. Yam labdva chapram labham manyate nadikam tata. In 6th chapter, maybe, that when one gets this, achieves Krishna consciousness, one thinks nothing is better than this. So he thought there's no higher destination than service to the lotus feet of Krishna. Not even achievement of the lotus feet of Krishna, service to the lotus feet of Krishna. Krishnangri seva. And so abhimanyamana, thinking that way, upavishat prayam amarchanadyam. He sat down on the bank of the transcendental river, Ganga or the Jamuna, praya, to fast until death. This is one option. When death approaches, that one, now it's like, try this, try that. There's still a treatment. There's still, we know of a shaman in Ethiopia who's done wonderful things and he could help, or maybe cannabis will help, or this will help, or that will help. Try this, try that. But another way is just to say, all right, it's over. My notice has come. And even, all right, let me give up eating. That means let me die. Let me die. That's one, a system of leaving this world, to say that my notice is there. Even Prabhupada, he, at a certain point, he said, don't give me any more. Let me, no more eating, no more drinking. That means let me die. So that stage was reached by Parikshit Maharaj, that let me die, but not just let me die, but let me die on the bank of the Ganga or the Jamuna. Let me take shelter of the transcendental river, which comes from the lotus feet of the Lord. And there's a discussion that the Jamuna is still more sanctified than the Ganga, still more glorious than the Ganga. And it was also nearby. If those who know Delhi, our temple in Noida is trans Jamuna. It's on the other side of the Jamuna from our temple in Santnagar. That means the Jamuna is right there in Delhi or right there at Hastinapur. And so it makes sense that, as Jiva Goswami comments, the king would have taken advantage of the Jamuna. It's also notable that Prabhupada mentions the scientists who want to go to the moon. I mean, how stupid is it? How stupid is it that you want to go to this planet where you can't stay, where there's no permanent benefit, but you're going to invest billions of dollars and devote your whole being to somehow or other conquering outer space and going to the moon and all of that, and then coming back. What is that? What is the benefit? The Bhagavatam advises that one should try in this human form of life for that which can't be achieved even anywhere in the three worlds. That should be our objective. So that was the king's position, that he thought that this is all inferior. Any planet that I might reach, any objective that I might gain in this material world, it's all inferior. Let me go back to Godhead. Let me go back to Godhead. And the king was already aware of all this because of his accumulated piety and birth in a high family of Vaishnavas. So he wasn't interested in anything in the material planets. This is the example of Parikshit Maharaj. Any comments or questions here? It's wonderful, actually. You know, this is, everyone is defeated by death. Mrityu sarva haraschaham, death comes and takes everything away. And because we're attached to everything that death is taking away, this is the ultimate defeat. But for the person who's Krishna conscious, he defeats death because he's attached to going back to Godhead, and death is helping him. He doesn't see that death is getting in the way. And death is my ticket. Not exactly my ticket, but it's the indication that this is my opportunity. Let me go. Let me go. Why do I want to stay here? Let me go. When he was assured of his death on a fixed date, he became more determined in the transcendental loving service of Lord Krishna by completely fasting on the side of the river. So that strength was there that let me very firmly dedicate myself to this purpose. Not, okay, mixed, full concentration. Let me take this so seriously. Let me take this so seriously and make my life successful. Anything else here?
Maharaj, I just had a small comment. It's interesting how Srila Prabhupada chose to translate Krishnangri Sevam. Krishnangri Seva, in the word for word, literally Angri, the lotus feet, and Seva is serving the lotus feet. And Srila Prabhupada introduced the concept that focus or concentrate the mind in Krishna consciousness. So he didn't do the word literal translation, but it's I think the point he's making is that the mind is such an important mind, attention, intention, focus is such a crucial part of the whole Krishna conscious process, the package. And so he chose to make sure that, to bring the attention of the reader to that point. And that's precisely what Parishit Maharaj is doing. And there's really nothing superior to this. And having recognized there's really nothing that even comes close. But just bringing back to the focus that the mind is very important, because sometimes we become very ritualistic or even somewhat ritualistic, and that's quite antithetical to the actual process of Krishna consciousness. Maybe you can comment on that a little bit more.
Yeah, the what is that? Excessively following the rules and regulations without focusing the mind on Krishna, neglecting the rules and regulations and not focusing the mind on Krishna. Niyamagraha, becoming more attracted toward different kinds of rituals, becoming more attracted toward moral principles without the ultimate destination of pleasing Krishna, becoming more attracted to charitable or philanthropic activities, more attracted to this, more attracted to that. Finally, Prabhupada said one time, we should never forget our real purpose, which is to become mad after Krishna. Everything else is ultimately meant for that, to bring us to the stage of being completely absorbed in thinking of Krishna and serving Krishna. But as you said, thinking of Krishna, Prabhupada translates it that way. To fix the mind on Krishna is so essential. There's a question from Nilakshi. Yes.
Go ahead, Nilakshi, you can mute yourself. Yes.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Maharaj. So I am from India actually, and currently there are a lot of issues going on, like in terms of the political issues and then social issues. Currently, there were two Sanatani saints who were killed for just being Sanatani. And this is like, when we see this, we just see that all that was predicted in the Bhagavatam is just coming true slowly, and how everything is degrading. Even if we see the Islamic population, it is just going on multiplying. Like how you said that it is so necessary for a girl to marry at the age of 16 to 18, and for a boy around the age of 25. Whereas if you see the Islamic people, they are following that practice. Although their philosophy might not be very scientific, but they are still following that. And slowly their population is increasing. And we know that once they they increase in the number, and they cross the line of and when they become a majority, their laws will be imposed on the entire country. And it is such a sad state.
This is, since I'm a foreigner, of course, I'm a Videshi, but let me observe that in politics, we use these things for our own advantage.
Right.
You should elect me because the communists are going to take over otherwise. You should elect me because the Muslims will take over otherwise. You should elect me or the Catholics will take over otherwise, or the Jews, or the Martians, or whatever it is. This is politics. For one reason or another, you should elect me. And I have several problems with this. One is that the Hindus are not so great.
Okay.
I'll tell you a story. This was told to me by my friend Yudhisthira in Bombay.
Okay.
he was just relating this to me some long time ago. There was some, I guess it was cricket match, World Cup, and it was down to who were the finalists. It was down to India and Pakistan, the arch enemies. And
Right.
the final playoff was in India. I forget whether it was Bombay or someplace else. So the Pakistani team is there competing against the Indian team, and the entire hopes of each nation is resting on their respective team. You know, the whole national attention is on them. And Pakistan loses. India wins. So now the Pakistani team, you know, has to return to Islamabad or wherever they're returning to with their, you know, tails between their legs. So the sports broadcasters are there, and they interview the captains of the teams. So they catch up with the Pakistani captain, and they're interviewing him. And the first thing he said, I would like to, first he said, I would like to thank Allah for all that he has done for us. His team just lost the championship. They have to return to the nation where they've disappointed all of their hopeful followers. And those are the first words out of his mouth. And then they interviewed the captain of the Indian team and the victors. And the captain said, yeah, all the men worked really hard and we had great teamwork and da 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 da. And not a word about Bhagavan. Nothing. You know, so this is your Hindutva in Kali Yuga India, that the Muslims you can say are sometimes better Vaishnavas than the Hindus. So we're not interested, Hindu, Muslim, or who's going to take over this, that. There has to be God consciousness, genuine God consciousness, Krishna consciousness. That's what we want to see. Not that there's a majority of materialistic Hindus or a majority of materialistic Muslims who are going to use the bodily platform as an excuse for getting in office or staying in office. The real thing is Krishna consciousness. Now, very good. The Hindus will follow the directions of Bhagavad Gita and actually rise to the point of genuine Krishna consciousness. It will be wonderful. But simply to demonize some other community as a way of getting in office may not be the best way to benefit the people.
True, Maharaj. Yes.
We saw that in America did the same thing. You know, what's the word? Call the dog a bad name and hang him. You know, American basically demonized the Muslims in the Middle East, and because you're such demons, we're going to march into your country, establish democracy, protect stabilize the region, and steal all the resources. You know, or establish our position as the controllers of the region where all those crucial resources are for our sense gratification. So, we never just come out and say that, we want it and we're going to grab it. We say that for the benefit of the world, for religious and moral considerations, because they mistreat their women, or because of this or because of that. when the real underlying purpose is sense gratification. So life is not meant for sense gratification. Political leadership is not meant for, even that, since I've been saying too many good things about Islam, I read in the newspaper in one of the Middle Eastern states that it was just a passing comment, but the ruler said, I want my people to have the best standard of living in the world. That means the best sense gratification. That's not, that's not the teaching of Muhammad. That's not the teaching of Allah, to have the best standard of living in the world. But that's what the ruler said. That means missing the point. So whether we're Hindu, whether we're Muslim, whether we're something else, the point is to not to have the best standard of living in material life, but to make progress on the path back to Godhead, to be able to focus the mind in the service of Krishna.
Right, Maharaj. I just had to add something. The
Go
thing
ahead.
is, the situation is such here right now that literally in the name of secularism, like the other communities, like the Christians and the Muslims, they are literally pampered. Okay, and the Hindus are totally ignored. Okay, the media is anti-Hindu or anti-Vedic, and the all kinds of
Oh,
newspapers.
come on.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
come on.
So
Oh, come on.
in such a situation, how can you be hopeful, and I mean, how can you help
First of all, I don't believe that this is
in
the situation. I, again, I'm a foreigner, but the Christians and the Muslims are totally pampered, and the Hindus are totally ignored, which is why the majority party is like totally, what's the word, courting the votes and interests of what? The Christians and Muslims? The majority party that's in charge at the moment of the Indian government is what? Busy courting the Christian Islamic vote? Is that what you're telling me? That they're ignoring the Hindus and they're just pampering the Christians and Muslims? Is that the actual situation? Is that what you're telling me?
actually, Maharaj, recently there was this situation where these two saints were killed for no reason,
Okay,
and the
that's go ahead.
and the politicians are not ready to even take any action against it. And since most of the politicians are atheistic, so
That's
they
the
are
real
ready.
problem. It's not that they're Christian or that they're Muslim or that they're Hindu.
Right, right,
That they're politicians,
right, right,
and therefore they can't be trusted. They have their
right,
political interests at heart. They have sense gratification at heart, and it's material calculation. How many votes do we get here? How many votes do we get there? How much influence here? How much influence there?
right.
So, and therefore, what do we say? What will people respond to? What will get people to press our button? To vote for us. Um, if I really thought that, all these people are, that it's really about the same thing, in America, they're flying a flag of democracy and security and protecting our homeland and, all these great slogans, because the Muslims, blah, 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 they hate our freedom. They want to take over the world, blah, 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 blah. It's all rubbish. You guys live in the place where all the goodies are that we want. That's the real story. But if we tell the American public, listen, these guys are sitting in, these crucial areas that are so important for our geostrategic interests, that we want to go and kill a few thousand people and assert our authority. The American public will say, no, you can't do that. So we have to say all these things about democracy and security and clash of civilizations and all of this rubbish. This is politics everywhere in the world. It's not new. It's not exclusive to America or India or Pakistan. This is Kali Yuga's business, to create dissension between husband and wife, between neighbor and neighbor, between country and country, between state and state, so that we can forget Krishna. So that we can forget Krishna and try to fight over the useless assets of this material world, which are not ours to begin with. Yeah, don't mind, but that would be my take on it. That we shouldn't be so easily wound up by what we hear from self-interested persons or politicians, but we should focus on spreading the real message. You may be Christian, you may be Muslim, you may be Hindu, but if you're not God conscious, then you're wasting your life. Take this message, Bhagavad Gita, chanting of the holy name. It's for everyone. It's not for the Hindus, it's not for the Muslims, it's not for the Christians, it's for the whole world. So we should not be distracted from our real business of carrying Krishna's message to everyone. Here in India and here in America, we don't want to neglect anyone. This is not just for the Hindus. It's for the Christians, it's for the Muslims, it's for everyone. But everywhere in the world, Jayadvaita Krishna Pradesh. We see even that the Muslims become Krishna devotees. In Iran, our devotees are all Muslims. In Kazakhstan, our devotees are all Muslims. So everyone has the opportunity to become Krishna conscious. That should be our focus. And let the politicians go on with their politics. It's not our business. Now, we are at 9:15. We're a little over time.
I think this might be a good time to pause for some bodily rest until the next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But not before we hear some announcements about upcoming attractions.
There are some questions, but I think we can probably carry them over to the next time. So I'll just make some quick announcements. Upcoming events for the on the same channel. So if you're not aware, we have every single night some program going on this Zoom channel. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is always Jayadvaita Swami at 8 p.m. We're still on the Canto 1 lecture series, so please join for that. Tomorrow, which is Thursday, we have Hari Parshad Prabhu, and he'll be talking on Damodar Leela at 8 p.m. So please join us for that. And then Saturday, we have 2 sessions, 11 a.m. Her Grace Vishakha Devi Dasi on Pastor Srila Prabhupada, and 8 p.m. His Holiness Giriraj Swami on the Lord's Guaranteed Protection. On Sunday at 6 p.m., His Holiness Radhanath Swami on Lord Chaitanya's loving dealings in Puri. And then next week we'll continue with more lectures. So please make a note of these, and we hope to see you, and feel free to spread the word. And looking forward to serving you all again tomorrow. Hare Krishna. And thank you very much, Maharaj.
Thank you very much.
Devotees who joined. Thank you, Purushartha Prabhu. Thank you, Mother Vegavati, and all the other devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Thank you.
Brilliant class, brilliant. Haribol.
Try to say something bona fide.
Oh my gosh, so wonderful.
Dandavad, Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol, Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
He's been there usually, right?